Hi, good morning. My name is Bob DiPietro. I'm applying for the Las Cruces Fire Chief's position, and I've been asked by you to answer some selected questions and provide a video response. I'm very happy to do that this morning, and I'd like to get started. The first question you ask is to explain three of the most important traits that a fire chief in order of importance, that a great fire chief should have. My first preference is loyalty. Loyalty to the fire service, loyalty to what I call loyalty to the job. It's service above yourself, and the bottom line is the service we provide to the community, fire service community. I think loyalty also means loyalty to all the members of your organization, from the fire chief on down. As fire chief, I will provide a great deal of loyalty to the folks that work with us to make our fire department great. The second trait that I think makes a great fire chief is trust. The fire chief has to have the trust of not only the community, but the leadership of the community and the rank and file of the fire service. If the folks down on the fire engines don't trust their fire chief, then we have a problem and the work does not get done. And I think we develop trust by proving it. My job coming in as a new fire chief into a community is to earn the trust of the people of the organization. It's my duty to do that. I have to provide that trust to them. The way I do that is always have the members' backs. My job is to look out for their health and safety and their welfare, make sure we're performing procedures to the proper standards. It's also looking out and knowing their families, is making sure that I send their loved ones home in one piece. That's my pledge to the community when I come in, and the community of the fire service and the rank and file and the members of the organization. I will do my utmost to make sure that I send those folks home safe at the end of their work shift and at the end of their careers when they go home. Third thing I think makes a great fire chief is the relationships that I build coming in, that we all build coming into the organization. I think it's important for a fire chief to have relationships within the community, the stakeholders that make up the community, and the quality of life in that community. One of the things I've done in the past is to establish high school fire service programs which get young folks involved with the fire service, plus it also builds our future recruiting process. I was involved in a few organizations in my community throughout my career. I belonged to the Rotary Club. I also served on a town council in my hometown back in Connecticut. I like to establish CPR programs within the community, have a community CPR class and everything that goes with that. Public fire education, that goes without saying, throughout the community. The relationships with leaders is also the most important, and the other one is the rank and file. I want to establish a labor and management initiative for our rank and file so I get to know them. So those are my three traits for that, and I will move on to the next question. The next question you ask is what I see as the critical aspects of staffing and deployment in the next 5 years. First of all, I've studied some of the things that I've seen from Las Cruces, and a great tribute to your retiring Chief Brown and his staff is the Class 1 ISO rating. I think this is an extremely important rating for a community to have. It actually saves our business community, our commercial real estate, some insurance money. Through that, I'd like to come in, identify the risks that our community has, and if review and evaluate the incidents that have occurred over the last several years to see if there's any kind of trends, and to apply some risk management techniques to those trends that are occurring. Once we do that and we know our data and we get some solid data behind us, we can now develop a community risk reduction plan, which I think is vital. It's a blueprint for our community to follow. I'm sure you have one. I'm sure there's one to review, and if we need to update, we update. And that means meeting with stakeholders to see what they will support. It's up to the community to support a risk reduction plan, to make sure that they're on board with it and are able to fund it. Once we know that, we mitigate some of our risks in our community. Like I said before, I want to look at starting a community CPR program to look at making sure all our residents know how to use CPR in the community. The other program that's going to be a big issue in the next 5 years is the community paramedicine program. This is where we can really assist with the hospitals to go out and to work with patients who have been released recently under targeted certain illnesses. There's some funding out there through the Affordable Care Act that can help the fire service to accomplish this. Plus, it provides a better service for our community. With that, I'd like to, we would look at our responses and how do we respond to emergencies. This is part of the plan. Look at following a standard of cover to develop that, to see if we have adequate resources that respond. We would use the National Fire Protection Association's standards, 1710, to look at that, look at our staffing of critical tasks in the early stages of fires. The last thing we do is to look at a recovery procedure, making sure our procedures to our community are in place in case of a major emergency, so that we can ensure continuity to the way our community operates. The whole community is involved in this plan, and I think it's something that we look at for the future. So in closure, I'd like to finish this off with reviewing what I see. I see in our staffing and deployment question, I see the use of data to identify community risks, look for future trending where staff will be needed, work with stakeholders to develop a plan, mitigate our large risks through education, engineering, and enforcement, staff accordingly using standards and trends, and establish EOPs, emergency operation plans for major risks. With that, we create a community of culture, preparedness, mitigation, response, and recovery. Thank you very much for letting me do this. I think it's a great way to review and to look at the qualities of a recruiting fire chief. And I thank you, and I hope I can advance to your next phase.